Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 63 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. I am Bill Pivets. Before we get started, if you guys want, follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. Rate, review the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, and wherever else you guys listen to the show. So this week was a little interesting, actually. There was a lot going on. The show flew by, which is good. It didn't drag on too much. But it also didn't go from segment that you couldn't catch a breath in between. It gave enough time to let things breathe and have their own time built out. Heading into this week, we knew Finn Balor was returning and that Alex Riley and Shinsuke Nakamura would have a match as well. Before the opening video, we had a cool Finn Balor Samoa Joe video that showed the transition from Finn Balor being on top in NXT and his rise to Samoa Joe taking that all away from him and his time as champion so far. The show opened with Finn Balor walking to the ring. He didn't look too happy. He didn't do his arm race taunts or anything like that. He just beeline for the ring and had a mic in his hand. There was a loud "Thank you, Finn" chant before he spoke. I don't know if the fans thought he would be going to Raw or anything like that, but he's going to be in NXT for at least a couple more months. He said that he should be thanking the fans, not the other way around. He said that he and Joe have been at war a long time. The matches at TakeOver Dallas and TakeOver London could have gone either way, but Balor won. And the same thing in the house show in Massachusetts. Elias Sampson then walked out and played his guitar. He played a song dedicated to Balor. I really didn't listen. The crowd was just shitting all over him, booing him, just drowning him out. After he said something along the lines that Balor's nothing without the NXT title, Balor stood there for a little bit and hit the Pele kick and strummed his guitar as Sampson walked up the aisle, and then he threw the guitar at Sampson. It was a little weird. This was actually to set up the main event match between the two, but it was just a weird segment. I was actually interested to see how how Finn Balor would react and where this promo was going to lead. Because I've mentioned it before and you guys know, he's not the greatest promo, but just to see either the intensity or what direction he was going to take this feud would have been very interesting. And I'm also, I don't know what I thought about Elias Sampson of all people interrupting Finn Balor, because he's not at that level yet, and it's a huge step back for Finn Balor to fight someone like a Sampson that low on the totem pole. It was just a weird dynamic between the two. We got a video recap of Eric Young's debut from last week, and then he cut a promo for WWE.com last week, quote unquote. He said he's here to prove himself, that everyone comes to NXT to prove themselves, to prove that they're the best, and he channeled his inner Macho Man promo with the cream rises to the top line. If you haven't checked out that Macho Man promo, he just pulls out coffee creamers out of his pocket. He has like 3 or 4 of them. It's fucking hilarious. First match of the show, Corey Hollis and John Skyler against American Alpha. I feel like we've seen this match like every other week between these two teams. Hollis and Skyler finally had matching attire. Good job, guys. Gable wrestled around Skyler to start the match. Jordan came in, slammed Hollis down for a little bit, and then the champs wore him down in their corner. They landed a double hip toss on Hollis and then a double drop kick to Skyler. At one point, the ref was distracted, which allowed Hollis and Skyler to take control. Gable hit a belly-to-belly suplex to get some separation and got the tag to Jordan. He suplexed both men, T-bone suplexes, overhead belly-to-belly tosses. Before the finish of the match, though, the Revival walked down, distracted American Alpha a little bit. Jordan put up his straps and then pulled him back down again, screamed, and then they hit Grand Amplitude to get the win. Typical squash match. Obviously, the champs are going to showcase what they're made of and why they're the champs. I was actually a little afraid that the Revival would cost American Alpha this match and get Hollis and Skyler the surprising win, but they didn't go that way. They didn't make the champs look like they're dumb for getting distracted from the match. After the match, American Alpha called down Revival, entered the ring. They teased it a little bit, but American Alpha backed up the ramp and walked away. I thought the original match was a good one between these two teams, but I think the rematch and the build to it is going to be very, very good. Nakamura cut a promo, and he made fun of Alex Riley's rage. He said he was shaking with rage and then walked off screen. Yeah, that's pretty much how anyone should react when Alex Riley makes fun of them. Which then led into the second match of the night, Alex Riley against Nakamura. Before I get started, I want to wish Alex Riley the best in his future endeavors. Go rage somewhere else, dude. Graves said that this was Nakamura's first time in Full Sail, and when he mentioned that, it kind of took me back a little bit, because I swear he was in Full Sail before, but then I thought about it, it's like, nope, that couldn't be the case, because they had TakeOver Dallas, obviously in Dallas. They did the couple of shows at WrestleMania Access, and then last week was the first taping in Full Sail, and he wasn't on that show, so this, was Nakamura's first appearance in Full Sail, and they gave him a great ovation. They loved him there. Riley had the upper hand early. He wasn't really falling for Nakamura's stuff, but Nakamura stepped aside and threw him out of the ring. Nakamura missed a knee, and Riley took back control for a little bit. He mocked Nakamura's bring it taunt, which was a bad idea on his part. Nakamura landed some knees to the head and gut. He then stomped on his head against the ropes. He hit his knee into the corner and a reverse exploder suplex before hitting the Kinshasa knee to get the win. Exactly the match I thought it would be. Alex Riley, a little bit of offense on this one, but Nakamura is going to be one of the stars, or not going to be, is one of the stars on NXT, and you're not going to have him lose to a guy like Alex Riley, regardless of his employment status. It just wasn't going to happen. As far as Nakamura, after this, I just wanted to see where he progresses from this. He had the one-off match with Sami Zayn at TakeOver. He really hasn't gotten involved into another feud yet. I know Balor and Samoa Joe are tied up with the NXT title, but what's next for him? He's going to be just squashing people, because we've seen that before with top guys. Baron Corbin's done this a while. Tyler Breeze has done this, just beating people. Apollo Crews has had something similar where he just goes in, wins some matches, and there's really nothing to progress to. So I don't know if there's a feud going on that he could be a part of. I don't know if Hideo Itami's close to returning, because that would be a great match. But I just think he needs something. I mean, the crowd's going to love him regardless. He's just showing up. They love his music. They love everything about him. But just to progress a secondary main event feud would be nice. We then got a shot of William Regal talking to Austin Aries in his office. Aries said he doesn't want to be another guy. Regal said he wouldn't have brought him in to be that. He's an impact player. I guess no pun intended. At this point, Blake and Murphy interrupted. Aries said that they disrespected him by interrupting the conversation, and they didn't have the decency to bring Alexa Bliss with them. They then bickered back and forth. William Regal cut him off. He said that next week, Blake and Murphy will face Aries and a partner of his choosing. And they walked off. Aries said that he's got to make a phone call. Who could possibly be his partner? If he's going to make a phone call, I guess they're going to play it up that it's someone not in NXT currently. Bobby Roode? I know he's been advertised around the internet about appearing at the NXT shows in London. Eric Young? Maybe he's going to call him back for that. I know it's not James Storm. Who else could it be? Who else could Austin Aries' partners be? Let me know in the comments. Third match, Alexa Bliss versus Rachel Ellering. Yep, that is the daughter of legendary manager Paul Ellering, and she looks a lot like him. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, if you want to be looking at Paul Ellering's face. She got a couple quick pins in on Alexa before she cut her off with a forearm to the face. Rachel made a little bit of a comeback later on with some punches and a nice dropkick. Bliss was able to escape, grabbed her by the throat, and just stared into the depths of her soul before slamming her down. She then went to the top and hit the Sparkle Splash to get the win. And this is going to be Alexa's new gimmick. This is what I think Corey Graves said on commentary, so credit him for this. That he's just gonna that she's going to defeat every Legend's daughter in the business, because she defeated Tessa Blanchard a couple weeks ago, and now Rachel Ellering. So who's next? Can she beat Natty? Can she beat Charlotte? That would be an interesting gimmick. Kind of like the Legend Killer, but Legend Daughter Killer. The new interviewer, I think her name was Casey Kelly, interviewed Bayley, asked when we could expect her to cash in her rematch. Nia Jax interrupted. She said that she got stronger with defeat, but Bayley got weaker. Bayley brought up the fact that she defeated Nia Jax. Nia came back saying that the outcome won't be the same, and Bayley finished off saying she did it once and she'll do it again. And next week, they advertised Blake and Murphy against Austin Aries and his partner, and Bayley will face Nia Jax. Time for the main event of Finn Balor against Elias Samson. Despite what I say about his gimmick or anything like that, but this is definitely a good spot for him. It shows that the people backstage have some confidence in him to put him in the main event and against the former champ, Finn Balor. But seeing Elias Samson twice did not make this crowd happy at all. And at this point, there was about 15 minutes or so left in the show, and I was hoping for a quick match, but that wasn't the case. It kind of went a little long, but it was enjoyable nonetheless. Early in the match, Balor rolled through a sunset flip and connected with a basement dropkick, and Samson rolled to the outside, leading to the first commercial break. Samson targeted the injured shoulder of Balor. When he entered, Balor had the injured tape, or whatever you call it, the athletic tape on his, I think it was his left shoulder. So he was targeting that early on. Finn made a comeback with 4 consecutive knife edge chops. He then hit a dropkick through the ropes and the horrible soccer kick from the apron. Every time that thing happens, it just looks horrible. He connected with the sling blade and the shotgun dropkick. He then hit Bloody Sunday, or what they are now calling 1916, to get the win. Definitely not the best match Balor's had. He definitely held his own, but there was just a weird contrast in styles between these two. Elias Samson was a little slow moving. There wasn't a lot of bouncing around that He did for Balor, or vice versa. Elias Sampson was more ground and pound, keeping Balor on the mat, so there wasn't really anything exciting except for the finishing sequence by Balor. And the 1916 reference, that's actually referring to the Irish Uprising. I'm not too familiar with what that is. Maybe I should brush up on my Irish history and the significance of it. Balor then grabbed the mic. He cut a promo. He said that Joe beat him, so he's making no excuses. He's not taking anything from Joe yet. He wants his rematch. He's obsessed with NXT and being the NXT champion. Now he's possessed like a demon stalking his prey. Joe's music hit. They were yelling at each other. Regal ran down to cut them off so they don't attack each other. He said it will not break into chaos. And he said at the next takeover in June, I think June 8th, the rematch will take place. Joe, Balor, 3. I'm only counting the takeovers because God knows how many times they've faced. Balor ran the ropes, flipped over Regal on the apron, and then landed on Joe. He then raised the NXT title before leaving it on Joe's waist, and then he walked up the ramp to end the show. I like this final segment a lot. I already gave you my thoughts on the match. The final segment was very well done, much better than the brawl they had a couple months ago. That went on way too long. This one, straight to the point. Regal made the announcement, kept them apart, or tried to at least. Balor just showed how obsessed he is by getting his hands on Joe and just holding that NXT title. He's going to do whatever it takes. And they don't have much longer to go before the TakeOver special, which is nice. It's not going to drag out too long. June 8th, let me see what day of the week. I don't know if that's a Sunday or a Wednesday. It's actually a Wednesday, which is pretty cool. So it's going to be a 2-hour NXT TakeOver special. I'll review that, obviously. But I think that's, 3 weeks away? 4 weeks away, which is nice. So keep everything concise. I'm pretty sure Nakamura is going to have a match on there. We'll have the rematch between American Alpha and the Revival. Maybe Bayley Asuka too. We'll see. But as for this week, it was really good. A couple of the squash matches I could have did without, but the build, getting some intrigue into next week, they did a good job with that as well. So like I said, next week you have Bayley and Nia Jax, and we find out who Austin Aries' partner will be as they take on Blake and Murphy. All right, guys, thanks for checking out Piv's NXT Point of View. I'll be back next week. Peace.